Good day, and welcome to the Power Up, where we equip, empower, elevate, and educate so that we all grow better together. I'm Tami Hill Thomas, your host, and excited to share global, national, important news and perspective, all for purpose to help unite and elevate us. So, as we begin, we're going to first start with global information. There's global impact and hearts that we share and extend to our sisters and brothers in Turkey and Syria, who recently were impacted on February the 6th with a magnitude 7.8 earthquake. It occurred in southern Turkey and northern border of Syria. And this was 59 miles to the southwest. 7.5 magnitude earthquake is traumatic. And that's not including the aftershocks. And those individuals are in need of aid. So we elevate this as one of our first stories for the day. This first earthquake was the most devastating to hit this earthquake prone area in more than 20 years. And if it was the stronger than the one that they experienced in 1939, which was the most powerful on record. Close to 18 million people in Turkey and Syria have been impacted by this disaster. And family, over 55,000 individuals died, nearly 130,000 injured. These are human beings, our fellow human race. Millions have been displaced from their homes, with over 10 million still in need of aid. So we highlight this to see how you can help. Governments around the world were quick to respond to this internal disaster. They all provided aid on many levels, deploying rescue teams and offering to this date still aid for those experiencing more than 11,000 aftershocks. Turkey and Syria individuals, those who call that their home, are still displaced. 3.7 million children already reside in Syria and just have been deepened by the trauma of this crisis. So as we put this on a global stage and a global perspective, consider this. 3.7 million children. 2.5 million of the children are Syrian refugees. Remember, that's a war-torn country. So they're already experiencing hardship. And having run to Turkey looking for shelter and aid, were impacted once again by this disaster. Many of those children facing poverty, child labor, and sadly, child marriage. So we're going to share information through this broadcast and how you can help. I do want to highlight one dynamic young man who is able to help share his story. His little name is Muhammad, 10-year-old young man. He's a Syrian boy whose home was destroyed. And when folks asked him what he needed most, he said, I just want to go home and return to school. I miss school so much. How can you help? Consider donating to the United Nations Foundation. They are one of the biggest allies for the global assistance needed across this world. United Nations Foundation can take the money that you donate or even other ways you want to assist, and they can help ensure it gets to those in the most need. So again, our hearts continue to extend to our family, our sisters and brothers in Turkey and Syria. On national news here in the United States, we've also experienced some devastation. And we want to make sure to not gloss it over, but extend our hearts and prayers to our family in the Midwest, who recently experienced horrifying tornado weather. People sorting through their wreckage, their homes, they continue to still brace for strong storms. And the storms hammered some areas hit by the weather where at least 32 people have been confirmed dead. Areas like Arkansas, Illinois, Iowa, all the way up to Chicago felt these tornadoes. Families, some 75 to 80 miles per hour winds. And yeah, homes destroyed, towns destroyed. But we want them to know we stand united. If you want to help and are able to, here on the national front, please feel free to submit donations to the American Red Cross. They help national victims, those who experience fires, those who experience flooding, and yes, even the strong storms that our Midwest civilians and residents experience, our brothers and sisters in the United States of America. See, tornadoes become because the conditions typically include dry air from the west, which is over the Rockies, and it crashes into the warm, moist air in the Gulf of Mexico. So while it's a beautiful place to live, it comes with the assistance that they need now more than ever. How can you help? Consider donating to the American Red Cross. The American Red Cross has been a pioneer in ensuring that our residents in our country get what they need in a time of most necessary. Disaster is something that can hit at any time without warning and impact us all. We do want to say, as we extend our heart, that we appreciate the governors who immediately stepped up to declare the state of emergency, the president who immediately responded to get that aid to those individuals so that they could start rebuilding. And while the government responded, a huge shout out to those neighbors and friends in neighboring towns who left what they had, took all they could in their cars, and ran to help their neighbors and friends. That's what humanity is about. So, again, you can assist those impacted by the disasters of the tornadoes and hurricanes in the Midwest by sending your funds or reaching out to the American Red Cross. And before I wrap and go into our commercial break, I do want to share one highlight moment. Recently, a young lady, 50 years old, who is in Spain, emerged after spending 500 days in a cave. 500 days living 230 feet deep in the earth from November 2021 to April 2023. Interesting, when she was interviewed, she said, I thought I was just there 100 days. Didn't realize years had gone by. They considered this to be a successful research opportunity. Interesting tip is that she didn't receive any contact from anyone but her team. No family updates, no news updates. She wasn't aware of the war in Ukraine, any deaths that she might have experienced in her family. But she held fast to 500 days of a mission that was in front of her. So we want to applaud Miss Flamini, the Spanish mountaineer, who took on this feat. And yes, while she did break a Guinness World Record, she didn't do it for that purpose. She did it to advance research so that it could show how the human body could function in those times when it must be in an isolated space. Here's a quote that she shared. I didn't feel anything when I saw the light as she emerged because it felt like I'd just gone in there. And so I didn't have the sense of missing the light or the sun, which is amazing when you're with the absence of light for so long. 500 days to emerge with the loss of time, but still a mission accomplished. So, family, as we've shared some global and national news and our highlight story, there's more we're going to discuss this hour. So stay tuned as we dive deeply into coping with stress. More after this.
Hey, it's Coach Piangel Jones from the Empowered Morning Show, and I'm reminding you to watch All Things Well 4 Thursdays right here on the Win Network.
Hey, how you guys doing? This is Regina Hutt, the wellness practitioner at Empowered Mornings. Join me every Monday at noon to work out with Regina on Win Network.
Thank you so much, ladies. We're excited to see your programs. More programming coming on the We Empowered Network. Let's talk about coping with stress. Welcome back to the ride, the power up where we equip, educate, empower, and elevate. I'm Tami Thomas, still here to help us guide through this hour where we can grow and increase together. Stress is something that was magnified during the recent pandemic. Now, it wasn't something that didn't already exist. Many of us deal with stress on a daily basis. Maybe the stress is in the form of having to bury a loved one, coping with loss. Maybe it's that grandma who's raising 5 of her grandchildren due to the loss or death of her own child. Maybe you're a school teacher and you just have a busy day with 15 little people pulling at you and going home to your own family. Maybe your stress is being someone who leads a company, right? You're the one who has the vision for all you want to accomplish. Maybe your stress is working through the relationship of marriage. And to those who are leaders naturally born that just feel like you can't sit back and do nothing, maybe the stresses of organizing, of developing your plan, of figuring out how you want to move forward. We're going to delve into how to cope with it. Because one thing we're not going to do is let stress take us out of here. Stress does have a physical impact. Stress has a financial impact. Stress has a behavioral, psychological impact and can also impact your relationships. So while we can identify the fact that there are stress indicators, some of us just need to know how to deal with it. Tammy, it's great that it's a thing, but what do I do to make sure that I can excel and be the best me in the midst of it? We're going to talk about that. But let's step back and do some first indicators. Let's make sure that we're all clear and on the same page of what stress might actually look like. Remembering that April is National Stress Awareness Month. The month is just meant to elevate awareness on not just the fact that there's stress that exists, and those of us that have our head down and just doing what we do every day, but also common explanations for how we can ensure that we don't allow stress to continue to wear and tear. It's critical to recognize what stress and anxiety look like. Mental health is important just as much as your physical and financial well-being. So we're going to delve deeper and provide some resources for you. When the body senses a threat or a stressor, it goes on a high alert. And once the stress passes, the body quickly recovers. Information shared by our amazing counterparts at the CDC and the National Institute on Mental Health. So much of the information that I'm going to share and the resources come from those who are experts in the field. Stress affects men and women, but differently oftentimes. Post-traumatic stress can be very different for a woman who has birthed a child, but it can also be different for a man who might be returning from military service. At least what's important is understanding it's okay to not be okay. Stressors can include work. It can include money management issues. It can include gender inequality and racism. We cut on the news and we have a lot that feeds into us that we see. And it makes us feel some kind of way. What we have to do is then figure out how to manage that so that we can still be as effective and efficient as we're designed to be. Because your purpose doesn't stop. What you were created to do in the earth doesn't end because the situation is so hard, because the circumstance is so heavy. What we have to do is remind ourselves that we weren't built to break and figure out coping mechanisms. Let's dive into just a few of some of the things that we need to remember. Remember that men and women, the differences oftentimes can cause us to just process stress differently. I read years ago a book where it was titled Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus, meaning that we communicate two different ways. We're humanly designed women to bear children. Men don't have that human design by nature. So our bodies process just a little differently. But stress management and resilience are extremely important. And ladies, especially for women. So I want to just share a few tips with you as we discuss coping with stress. First, recognize and counter signs of stress. Well, Tammy, what do you mean? Glad you asked. The body sends signals of its stress, including difficulty concentrating, headaches, cold hands, tight muscles, a nervous stomach, mhm, clenching your teeth, feeling on edge. Maybe you're fidgety all the time, irritable. How about those who withdraw easily? Could all be indicators that you're under stress. And knowing how your body communicates can help you deal in those stressful moments. We've got to learn how to listen to us. Remember, as far as your healthcare practitioner, they can only serve you to with the knowledge that they have, which means it's that much more important, honey, that you listen to yourself. That you know anything that's not normal is considered abnormal and should be discussed when you get that annual physical, when you go and see that doctor, because stress can impact. You find yourself taking more medicines. You find yourself all of a sudden not remembering. And my goodness, those migraines. So let's learn what the indicators can be and do a better job listening to me. Here are some things that might be helpful in those moments. Write down anything that you feel between your doctor's visits. Consider keeping a log. I didn't eat for 5 days. This upset my stomach. I had headaches 3 days in a row. Consider writing down what you are physically feeling in the moments between your doctor visits. Because even if you don't acknowledge it as stress, that practitioner might say, sounds like stress. Tell me what you're dealing with. Family, we can only be the best us when we take care of us. So consider writing down your thoughts. And here's another one. How about that quiet time that's so needed? That meditation, that you time that you deserve. Yeah. I understand sometimes it's hard because if you're the mom or the grandma and you've just got kids and you've got so much going on and you're cooking dinner and doing hair and putting the babies in the bath and helping with homework, honey, I understand. But what we have to do, the same way we prioritize everyone else, is to make sure that we remember that when we're gone, so while you're here and have the ability to be the amazing you were created to be, consider the indicators and starting with self-care and well-being. We're going to talk about that. because I do understand that quiet time can be something you have to intentionally block on your calendar. I'm a witness. It's something that, with those of us that stay busy because we're producers and we're leaders, and we know that folks are calling us when we're not calling them, that it has to actually be a block of time that I separate myself. But if it's for the betterment of me and my well being, family, you deserve to be happy and healthy. Take time for yourself. Make taking care of yourself a daily routine. Now, I know that I might be preaching to the choir for folks that are self lovers all the time. But I also know there are some individuals that might say, I can't do it. I don't know how to do it. Guess who you have today to help you? There are tips that you can practice, and daily habits are what creates a successful life. Consider prioritizing yourself and appreciating that no factor. Yeah, it's something I had to learn the hard way. The value of that two-letter word, and that it's not negative when it's protective. Let me give you an example. When the baby goes to touch the hot stove, you don't go over and start explaining why that's an issue. When the baby goes over, the first thing you say is, no, don't touch that, because you're protecting them. In those thoughts of protecting that little person, the one you love and you want to keep safe, how much more important is it that we put that value on ourselves, the one we love and want to keep safe? Consider the time when you can change up what you do. Maybe cook with your jazz on. Maybe light that candle and take a bath instead of a shower one day a week. Allow your muscles to soothe in that hot water. Consider surrounding yourself with individuals that will pour into you the positive energy you're depleting, pouring into others. I'll put it like this. Sometimes you got to upgrade your friends, right? If the individuals that are just drawing from you are the ones that are pulling, and you haven't surrounded yourself with investors, consider using that as a way to help better myself. Here's another tip. See the problem through a different lens. Perspective is everything. Experts call changing the way we think and respond stress as reframing. So even though it is a crisis and it's an emergency situation and it's something I have to deal with right now, does it cause you to react or respond? Can I pause and think about the best way to address this? I'll tell you that sometimes that's the difference between bail money and an apology. Not popping off on someone, but making sure that we take that time to calmly address, calmly respond, and consider everything else. Keeping situations in perspectives is important because it can boost your stress resilience, positive thinking. So it's not that it's a mountain in front of me. Well, guess I'm going to get my workout then because I'm taking on this mountain. Perspective. Yeah, your money might be funny and your change strange. You might not have as much as your bills need, in other words. But do you mope and grind and cry? Or are you out there trying to figure it out? I've got to find a way to get another stream of income. I've got to find a way to make sure that my liabilities aren't greater than my income. I need my assets to be stronger. I need to get myself in a position so that this time next year, I'm not dealing with the same setbacks. Come on, family. It's how you look at it that can oftentimes help your stress level. This is all supported by the professionals that we're going to share information on. I want to also offer one more tip for you, and that's get the help you need to address what you're facing. There are health professionals, that can help you process. Time out for the stigma that you're crazy if you're seeing a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a psychotherapist or getting counseling. Those days are behind us. Suicide is at an all-time high, and it's because the pressure becomes so much that individuals feel like they can't talk to others. I want to offer to you many that you see on your screen that offer resources, real time help for whatever you're facing. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is there with individuals that just want to talk, the space to listen to you. Consider reaching out when it gets so hard instead of shutting down. Because if you think about it in the way of a pressure cooker my grandmother used to use to cook her rice and her oxtails back in the day. You put it on, and then when the pressure gets so hot, there's steam that comes through the top. Sort of like a kettle that's boiling water on the stove. When it's hot and boiling, the steam whistles through because the pressure is so great. Well, you need to release that. You need to take the cap off and find a way to allow yourself the freedom of it's the situation, but it's not too much because it's how I handle the situation that makes the difference. Also, consider those resources that can help you with the CDC. The Center for Disease Control often shares much information on how you can assist your body, how you can process in those moments, more than just how we responded to the pandemic. They offer health tips that you can practice. I printed them out and put them on my wall, on my refrigerator, so that I could reference them when I needed them. Because help is what's important, right? Not the stigma. The National Institute of Health is another great resource. They have regular information. That is their entire purpose in the government. Whatever you are addressing, menopause, arthritis, Alzheimer's, there you could go to the website for the National Institute of Health and gain information to make you better because knowledge is power. So, family, it's not that the situation is so much, but how we're prepared for the battle, how we can get better information for our circumstances. Few other tips. If you need help with your money, consider walking into a bank and speaking to a financial advisor. There's also coaches and mentors. There's pastors and other spiritual leaders that can assist you in this moment. So we're hoping that the information shared today can help with coping with stress. As we go into our elevation moment, you'll hear more after this message.
Hey, it's Coach Piangel Jones from the Empowered Morning Show, and I'm reminding you to watch All Things Well 4 Thursdays right here on the Win Network.
Hey, 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 how you guys doing? This is Regina Hutt, the wellness practitioner at Empower Mornings. Join me every Monday at noon to work out with Regina on Win Network.
Two powerful ladies. Please join their programs. Hi, it's Tami Hill Thomas again here with you. Thank you for staying with the Power Up today. We're hoping that taking an opportunity to share a spotlight on what's happening globally, nationally, and within you can make the difference. We're going to wrap up our show today with our elevation moment. The moment when we take an opportunity to elevate. Being human means growth. We just spoke about coping with stress. I am going to go back and tap on a few of the important highlights so that as we're human beings in this human body, we can be better. But I want to encourage you with this. There's nothing too hard that you can't handle. We oftentimes can be surrounded by individuals and feel so alone. Yeah. It's not easy living this life, but who said it would be? What it can be is purposeful, What it can be is enjoyable, but what it will take is you making the most of the moment. So I want to share some thoughts with you today. First, consider reminding yourself daily of the worth that you have. See, the best way to elevate is to remember that that means you're already on a firm foundation. This isn't a swamp. You're not in quicksand. You already have what you need to win because it's inside of you. When you tap into those resources, when you tap into that DNA that you're hardwired to be successful to do, you'll find yourself not just changing perspective, not just growing in knowledge, but noticing a change. And the change, family, must first start with you. So consider surrounding yourself with those positive affirmations that will help you be successful. When you walk into my bathroom, I learned this from my mentor. I went to visit her one day and I asked to use the restroom, and she had stickies all over her mirror. And her stickies had powerful sayings on them. So I started doing that. And what I found when I recently went through a very hard health battle was, as I was brushing my teeth, I would look up and I would see, you are enough. Come on, somebody. As I was dealing with taking my medicine because I had a headache in the moment, or because my throat was bothering me, whatever I was dealing with, I would look up and I would see all things work together for the good. Made me remember that I can tap into my faith. I can tap into all that I need to sustain me in my weak moment. But daily affirmation and surrounding yourself with what will help you be successful is what's most important. Can I help somebody? The most important conversation that you're going to have is what you say to you. Uh-huh. See, we get distracted by listening to folks. We get caught up in the approval and needing folks to validate us. And today, in this elevation moment, we want you to know you have everything that you need in spite of whether others agree or not. And if you think about it, that's what trailblazers are. I come from great DNA. I have of mixed cultures, African American, Native American, Polish American. I come from many different cultures, meaning my ancestors were from different lineages. One of the things that I know is the proudness that I have as an African American when I think about the amazing Harriet Tubman. Now, you got to think about her story for a minute, if I can go back for history purposes. This young lady decided that she was going to make her way to freedom from slavery. She was in a bondage situation, but didn't let the bondage limit her. In fact, in it, she got enough gumption and purpose to say, I'm doing this. So families, start today with first knowing that the impossible is always possible. I believe that until you do it, you won't see it. But there are others who can show you. Harriet Tubman in her story didn't just go through streams and make her way through brush, but she was running believing she was going to make it. And at some point when making it, decided, I got to help somebody else. I got to go back there. I can't have others in the bondage that I can now release because I'm free. And she took the situation and decided to make it so that others could reap and prosper. So in your moment, think this way. Elevation also means that you're going to impact others in some way, right? It's not just about the suffering or the hardship or the sadness. When you bury your loved one, as we did with our mother-in-law recently, she's an amazing woman of God. We decided to, every birthday afterwards, make sure we get together to keep her memory alive. Hard moment to say goodbye. but found a way to make it exist. We're going to make sure every generation knows about her. We're going to make sure that we keep her name alive, that we share experiences, that when we get together for the holidays, we're talking about her. That's how you make a perspective change, how you make a struggle become a success. Okay, how you go from a victim to being victorious. Come on. And you have everything in you to do that. One more thing about Harriet Tubman. She became a trailblazer because not only did she run, but she built a path we call the Underground Railroad. She built a path that where she could follow her footsteps back. And when she brought others through those footsteps, she then went back and brought others through those footsteps. So many times when it seems so hard, when it seems so dark, it's because it's meant for every gift and talent you have to be the one to help define what this is supposed to look like. Let me give you an example. We're in the information age right now. We're not in the time of dinosaurs people talk about. We're not in the beginning of the earth. We're not in slavery times right now. We're not in medieval times. Whatever centuries behind, Revolutionary War, we are in an information age where you can communicate with individuals at the touch of a thumb. Come on, for my folks who scroll through social media a lot. We are in a place where we can stay connected without having to walk to the library and read a book to learn the information. We can just type in a word and have it all come on our fingertips. We're not just in the place where you have to dial a rotary phone and wait for that one number to come back before I can do the next number. Now I just push in my dad's name and his phone rings. You are purposefully in a place where you can be impactful right now. So for those who, Tami, aren't sure of my purpose, take a minute and consider this. What do you love to do? What would you do if you had money and time and freedom? What would you do? What did you love to do as a child? That, man, if I could, I would just be doing it all the time now. I loved it. Consider tapping into those gifts, those talents, and think of ways to build, to create, and start being a trailblazer. We see everybody else doing it. Why can't you? One of the things that we forget is that you deserve to be happy, just like everyone else. Happiness is attainable. It's something that you deserve to be. God didn't just create us and put us here just to be miserable and trying to figure out life. We have the fullness of this earth to enjoy. Now, sometimes it means we have to structure our schedule. Sometimes it means that we have to make time intentionally to develop a plan and a strategy. Sometimes it means that we've got to talk to other people and get that information. If you've never traveled before and don't have a passport, you might want to talk to a travel agent. Get that information on what that's about. What encompasses me going to another country? What do you mean currency exchange? You want to learn everything so that you become elevated. Consider stepping into those unknown areas. Come out that box. Listen, obliterate the box. Come on, no more boxes. Let's go, family. It's time to be the most powerful, amazing you that you can be. We discuss coping with stress because it's real. There's a lot that goes on in life. There's a lot that we deal with. There's a lot in this world. You wake up and your phone's ringing and folks are calling you with stuff. You cut on the TV and the news has tons of stuff because that's their job. They broadcast the news. You need to know if there's a traffic jam and you're trying to go that way. You need to know if there's a fire up the street and folks were displaced. Because if that's near mama, you need to check on them. And they might be your neighbors. You need to know what's happening in other countries, in other parts of the land. So the news isn't a bad thing. It's perspective. It's meant to be information that you decide what you're going to do with. But in those moments, if you're stagnant, become still, decide to stay in that space, there's no productivity happening. So we want to wrap up today's power up with a few thoughts. Consider your daily habits. Consider implementing things every day that will make you feel great, look great, because there's no limit. It's not about your age. Listen, there's a 100-year-old lady I saw on the news the other day who completed a 100-yard dash. 100 years old, y'all. And something in her said, I used to be an athlete. I want to compete. Tap into the sources that might be helpful to you so that you can lift yourself up out of the funk or the stuff in your mind or the what the voices might be saying or what people might be calling you, putting on you. Consider letting that baggage go. And that includes the people that might not be feeding into you, that might be those negative ones in your circle that just might not be productive and pushing you to your success. Yep, sometimes you got to let folks go too. Family, in this elevation moment, we want to remind you of the greatness that makes you you, how you're intentionally designed and purposed to win. My friend has a saying that I've adopted, even stolen. He said, make excellence your brand. In your life, you determine how you want to look, how you want to live. I'll give you an example, telling just a second of my story. I recently went through 2 surgeries back to back in 3 months and had very little voice. Well, the outcome of that meant that my medication has changed 10 times now because I'm adjusting without a certain organ. So the medication management becomes something that I have to figure out. Well, I can't do that at home in my bed going, woe is me. So I have to meet with the doctors, the practitioners, the experts, and discuss medication and how it's impacting me. But I didn't stop there. I ended up gaining 50 pounds since I lost that organ. Now, am I happy with that? No. But what I decided to do was call a trainer, call a wellness coach, and get some holistic practitioner expertise. I took my situation and turned it into power for me. So not only am I working on my physical body, but meeting with a dietitian to figure out how what I eat can make a difference. Speaking of holistic folks, because there's stuff in the earth that can also help while the medications are working. All that quick story is just to tell you, you don't have to live in limits. You already are in the race. You're not even at the starting line. You're already running. Don't stop now. Consider tapping into any resources, getting that counselor, that coach, someone that can block that time and save that space to help you process so that you can see, okay, this is what I need to see. Ask yourself 3 interesting questions. These are questions that I pose to executives when I coach as an executive coach. I ask, what can you do differently? Remember, if you're doing the same thing, you're not going to get a different response. Ask yourself, where am I getting stuck? You know, I only feel this stressful when she comes around. I'm having a great day, and every time she comes, the first thing I do is say, here we go. Might be an indicator. Uh-huh. You then have the power to figure out how you want to better you and address that. Because I tell you something, some folks you can love from a distance. Come on, somebody. Another question you want to ask yourself is, what do I have in my realm that can help me through this? Might be that conversation with Big Mama that you need to have and be honest. because you know Big Mama's going to keep it here. She's going to be that vault for you. And it might actually be talking to that counselor because they're paid to give you a third eye perspective. They're in position to not judge you and just continue to ask questions that will help you think, how is this impacting me? How do I feel when this happens? What do I have the power to change? And if you're a spiritual individual, come on, y'all, that's what church is for. Whatever your faith, there are parishioners, there are leaders in those edifices to help you through this moment of crisis. But one thing we're not going to do is live in limits. So as we get prepared to wrap up our show today, remember the global news that there are brothers and sisters in Syria and Turkey who need your assistance. Feel free to tap into the UN Foundation and support them. There are folks who are digging through rubble, just trying to find their belongings, and they need you. There are brothers and sisters in the Midwest who are still recovering, y'all, from 11 to 12 tornadoes that just walked up their street, devastating anything in its path. Consider how you can contribute to the American Red Cross, how we can help our brothers, how we can help our neighbors. And they might not be right across the street from you. They might be in another state, but we're all here together. One human race. Consider the coping mechanisms, indicators of stress. That's what's causing it in your life. Keeping that log between doctor's visits of what can help you, what I'm feeling, what is different, what has changed, so that you have information when you go sit with them. Consider the effects of your atmosphere and your environment and different things that might happen. Write them down. Because I promise you, when I go sit in front of the doctor, I might have everything in mind on the way, and then I draw a blank. And the National Institute of Health even recommends that you keep that log between visits. And consider tapping into the different national platforms that can offer you tips. The National Institute of Health, the Center for Disease Control, the National Institute for Mental Health. SAMHSA is also an amazing resource. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. It's not just there, it's there for you. Family, as we wrap up, I'd like to leave this closing thought. The best part about every situation you face is the X factor, what I call the it factor, and that's you. You have the power to change your situation. We hear global, national news. We hear others who are struggling. We think about those babies who are fighting cancer in the hospital, born into that situation. They didn't ask for it. We think about those who are being impacted by the loss of loved ones. Hard moments that are real. One of the things the pandemic did was remind us how precious life is. We lost over 1 million Americans within a year and a half, blindsided by something no one knew was coming because of pre-existing health conditions that a pandemic, COVID-19, came through, amplified in our autoimmune systems, and caused many to not have enough energy to fight and many healthcare systems to break. Everything happens for a reason. We just want to leave you with the power up. That the power up is you. You are the power. You have the ability, you have the resources, you have the intuitiveness. You are designed to win. Somebody write that down. I am designed to win. And remind yourself of that. And when those haters come and say, no, you can't. I don't know what makes you think you can. Girl, you this. Brother, don't try it. You need to know it's somebody else doing that. What are you doing it for? You need to remind yourself that you are all the voice you need. Once you start putting one foot in front of another, you'll remember like those babies that learn how to walk. You'll fall down, but you'll get up. And that's the best part about life, the not staying down, but the making sure that we get up, we rise up, we elevate, we become the most successful us we can be. You know why? Because when you're a wonderful you, you're a great daughter, son, uncle, coach, mentor, teacher, neighbor, worshiper at your church, co-worker at the job. See, darkness isn't a thing. Darkness is just the absence of light. But you are the light. Yeah, you are the light of the world. You are the one that can totally change that entire situation. You can change that whole atmosphere. You can shift all the drama around you just by speaking life to it. Just by you showing up is going to change the atmosphere. You ever been around folks that had somebody walk in the room and everybody start looking at them or start whispering? It's because folks see something different about them. Everybody doesn't like people who rise, who stand tall, who are courageous. But it's not whether you like me, because I like me. So family, continue with your day. Continue with your week, knowing that this network is here to remind you that you have the power to succeed, that our heart continues to want to support those who are dealing with devastation and loss. We have not forgotten about our brothers and sisters across the water or even up the way. We are in this together, that one human race. And with all things being available, the only thing that makes the limits are you. See, you can get back in that box. You can decide you want to cut me off and Tammy, I'm not interested in all of that. And I thought this show was going to be about something different. Nope. It's meant to elevate, equip, empower, educate. That's the power up. We appreciate your time. We thank you for your openness to receive the content of the Power Up. And we look forward to connecting with you again in the future. You can always send any questions to us and connect on social media platforms. And if you have topics that you'd like us to delve into, we'll be bringing commentary and reporters in future shows. We're looking forward to discussing topics that touch globally and nationally, as we plan to also interview celebrities, professionals, experts in different fields. We're going to bring you the information that can help tap into you as that power source so that you don't walk away just hearing it, but you can apply and feel equipped to do it. Because if no one else believes in you, we do. But can I tell you, that doesn't help unless you also believe in you. Hear it from someone who's faced so much in life. Hear it from others who are going to come with different perspectives of reality. Yeah, it's hard because life is hard. But what we offer to you is the how you can win, how you can excel, how you can be great. Because you don't have to just exist, but you can live and live on purpose. Until next time, this is the Power Up with Tami Hill Thomas. Go be great.